Hello, can you hear me, Dr. Ashok? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Good evening, madam.
Yeah, very good evening.
Yeah, we can wait a few more minutes, ma'am. 6:30 exactly we can start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining. all please enable your videos. So all please enable your video. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Soumya Joshi.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, just you switch on
Yeah,
your video.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll make a screen, sir.
Am I visible?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. 1 minute, ma'am.
Yeah.
So all the participants, please enable your video.
Dr. Ashok, when I'm trying to share the screen, it says host disabled, right?
Yeah, wait, ma'am, wait. I will be. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Good evening to one and all. It's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest today, who is going to deliver topic challenges and opportunities on chip networks in multiprocessor environment by Dr. Soumya Joshi. She is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering at BITS Pilani, Hyderabad. She has completed her UG in JNTU Hyderabad and PG and PhD in IIT Kharagpur. Her research interest in network on chip and system on chip design in specific evolutionary techniques for optimization, fault tolerant network on chip design, application specific reconfigurable design, and real time systems. And she is involving in research project also. She has completed the project titled on strategies for thermal aware application specific and reconfigurable network on chip design, sponsoring by BITS Pilani, the worth of 2 lakhs. And she is working on strategies for fault tolerant network on chip design under SIR through earlier career research award, the cost of 25 lakhs. And she is working on developing methodologies for self-aware network on chip design, and by the sponsoring agency is joint call for proposal for exchanging visits under Indo-Austria specific scientific and technological cooperation between W2Z and DST. The cost around 9 lakhs. And she is working on the project Indo-Norwegian collaboration in autonomous cyber physical system INCAPS by the sponsoring agency is International Partnership for Excellent Education, Research and Innovation INTPART. the Research Council of Norway. The cost around is 4.7 crores. And also she is working on network on chip design and optimization for risk-based architectures by the sponsoring agency is the Scheme Promotion for Academic and Research Collaboration, SPARC. The worth around is 42 lakhs. And also she submitted the project COVID-19 wearable gadget-based stress detection and monitoring among the elderly and caregivers by the sponsoring agency is National Human Rights of India. And also she is having 35 reputed journals in national and international level. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Over to you. Already I made a co-host to you. You can proceed.
Yes. Yeah. So I started sharing. I hope that is visible. Is it visible?
Yeah, yes, visible.
Yeah. So let me go to the presentation moment. So a very warm good evening, all of you. So as you understood from my introduction that I basically work on-chip networks. So I thought, instead of giving a topic in depth, I thought of giving different opportunities and challenges that are associated in this particular network on-chip, or you can say on-chip networks. So I will touch upon different challenges, open challenges, the problems associated with each of them, and what are the things that we solve. So while I pose different challenges, I will also show you my contribution, in fact, our group contribution from BITS, so that, if any one of you are interested to be part of it, or maybe later you want to try yourself, you're welcome. Right. So I will also be, concluding with open challenges that are there. So let's go ahead. So basically, we very well understand that, earlier days, the computers that we had, like when we were small, so we used to think like, we have got a processor. We all started our learning from 8085, right? So 8085, 8086, that's how the Intel's processor, the journey started. And then slowly we started hearing about the multi-core architecture. So where we started hearing about dual core, quad core, octa core. Now even, not only the computers, but rather your cell phones, which are in your hand every day, are actually having more than one core. So core is nothing but the one which has the processing power. So we say that it's a multi-processor environment, which would actually, is the one which is used by almost all the electronic devices. Okay. So taking any embedded system example, starting from whatever the appliances that are at your home till, whatever you use every day, that's mobile phone. So the shift from single processor to multi-processor had happened, right? So why is this happening? So then the question comes, right? So suppose, let us take a very trivial example that if there are two people who are talking, right? So there is not really, much disturbance, because, one-to-one communication is much easier, because there is nobody who would actually share your, the channel in which you are talking. But imagine that, there is one source and there are multiple destinations, or maybe multiple sources and multiple destinations talking, connected in terms of a bus. So I hope most of the people are aware of bus-based architectures, where, they are point-to-point, that I'm going to show you in a minute. So basically, while we do so, the communication plays a major role. So we very well understand that because of the processing technology in the VLSI, so the processing is not a problem now, right? So you are having a tremendous, very powerful processors now that things can happen just like that, right? So in the fraction of seconds, in fact, nanoseconds range, we are able to process whatever the operation that has to be performed. But the question comes, as there is not only one processor sitting on the chip, rather we have multiple processors. So the question of communication plays a very major role in this case. So there comes the motivation for the networks which are sitting on chip basically, right? So we are shifting bus-based architecture towards the network which is sitting on chip, which would connect all the processors on the system. Okay, so to give you a a pictorial view of whatever I was saying, that this is how it's going to look like, right? So you can see that in 1990s.
ఇంజెక్షన్ వేద్దామని
Yes, anybody?
13,000 పెట్టినా చూసుకున్నావా?
Somebody talking? Any questions? Okay. So basically what we are doing is like this shows a pictorial view of what actually had happened, right? From 1990s to 2010s, and from 2010s, if you look into the literature, there are lots and lots of work that is going on in network on chip. So this is how it was actually, I was telling about these buses. So we will see why exactly that is really important. So basically I was saying that point to point bus, the communication bottleneck is the basic problem, because there will be a sharing of the bandwidth and the arbitration policy. Like, if you have multiple masters and multiple slaves, how are you going to handle the arbitration, right? And while you do so, whether the power consumption would actually get increased, because there will be a lot of switching that happens on the same bus. And as we know that the switching technique, whatever the switching activity, which would actually cause the dynamic power consumption to grow rapidly. So all these things are actually, this particular slide would show you that if it is a bus-based one where multiple sources and destinations are there. So maybe I'll just go back and check. You see that, at a time, only one particular communication is happening, and that is happening through the common bus. So which is very straightforward, that the bus is shared. So obviously bus will have some bandwidth, so bandwidth is getting shared. And imagine that you have multiple sources or multiple cores sitting on this system, and as the number of cores increases rapidly, then the communication among those processes would become a really problematic one, because the processing is fast. Suppose let us say P1 wants to talk to P5, so P1 has done its computation and ready with the outputs. P5 is ready to take inputs from P1. Just because this bus is shared and just because the bandwidth is not sufficient, you are not able to do it. So that's kind of not acceptable in modern systems. So that is where the question of, a solution comes, like what could be the, solution for these kind of problems of shared bus or shared bandwidth. Okay. So that is where this network on chip came into picture. So basically, if you see the advantages, so the bandwidth is not shared because you have got routers associated with each of the processor, right? And the main important thing is that it is scalable, right? So you increase as many number of processors you want, you can actually do it. It's a structured architecture, and the throughput is actually kind of very, very high, and the latency will also be very less. We will see how it is actually done. So this is how a typical NOC looks like, right? So NOC is network on chip. So the network is sitting on the chip, right? So you would have heard about this, right? So I call the processor as a CPU on chip, microcontroller as the computer on a chip. Then comes the whole system is sitting on a chip, that is system on chip or SoC, right? And then we have got this NOC, which is network on chip. So this is the evolution that had happened in this particular area, right? So in this particular NOC, what does it have? Right? So there are three major components that it has, that the boxes that are written over here are like CPUs, DSPs, DMA, these could be heterogeneous processes which are connected through NOC, right? So these cores are not part of the NOC. Please do understand that we are trying to connect the processors through the network. So in the network, what we have is a switcher router, which is the major component, and the links which are connected from one switch to the other switch. And there is one thing called a network interface, which would act as an interface, as the name says, to the network with the processor. So because CPUs, different processors talk in different way. Like for example, I might have an 8-bit processor, I might have a 16-bit processor, and the way I communicate to the other processor could be different. So just to, make the network understand and send the information through the network and then send it to another processor connected to the network. So we have something called the interface. So basically, NOC consists of 3 components: network interface, switch or a router, and the interconnection links, which are used to connect the multiple processes. Okay, so this diagram shows you that how the bus-based architecture is getting changed to a structured way of connecting things using NOC, right? So you can see over here. I hope whatever I write can be seen. So let us see that all these are heterogeneous processes. Whatever are there in the square boxes or rectangular boxes. So all these are basically different processing elements or processors or whatever. Somebody who is actually processing the information and they want to communicate to another processing element. There could be anything, right? So it could be DSP, it could be a memory, it could be a processor altogether, right? So there are many, it could be an ASIC also altogether, right? So this kind of thing, this is a one bus, this is another bus, this is another bus. So we have seen that, the earlier SOCs were connected through bus-based protocols, right? So this is getting changed to this. So here, if you observe that you have the small boxes in gray color, so those are the routers, and the links that are there, these are the links, interconnection links between the routers, and each router, of course, is connected to each of the processing elements. Okay. So this is how the bus-based architectures have been changed to the router-based network, which is a. Okay. So if you want to see in a detailed way, so you can see this, every processing element would have its own network interface. This is the router, and these are unidirectional links. So you can see that there are 2 links. So basically they are bidirectional, basically. So you have 2 links, one on one side, another is towards the top, right? So and you have got some buffers, there are many architectures that came up which might actually put up these buffers in between, we know why do we put buffers, if the communication, for the synchronization of those communications, we might put buffers. So if you see here, there are buffers in between the routers, there are buffers in between the network interface and the router also, because the speed at which the router working and the speed at which the processor working might be different. So we try to synchronize with these buffers. Okay, so this is how the information is getting passed. So you can now understand from the bus-based architectures to the NOC-based architecture, the things can happen really parallelly, right? And it is scalable. So this is how, people have come up with such a solution, which is very much into, the manufacturing now. There are some companies who are actually manufacturing these NOCs in your systems, okay? So, earlier this was only a theoretical concept. Slowly, after the enormous research that happened in this particular field, now people have started looking into the actual fabrication of this inside a multiprocessor environment. Okay? So if you want, you can just, try out different industries. You can actually look into. There is one industry which is called Arteris. So you can check, like, they started manufacturing based on it. Then only, you can appreciate basically whatever we learn is actually being realized. Okay. So this is the same thing. Like, there are so many buses over there, so which is not structured, but if you see here, it is a very structured way of connecting things. So now if you see, So this particular NOC has taken the concept from computer networks, right? So this is divided into different layers. So yeah, you may be aware about the computer networks, where you have got different types of layers. You have got application layer, network layer, transport layer, data link layer. So here also we have got different things. So at the application layer, basically you will have some application which would you want you to run on an NOC, right? Then comes the network. So in the network, like how the network is connected. So until now I have been saying that yes, there are routers, they are connected through the links, but how are they going to get connected, right? So they could be connected randomly, they could be connected in a fashion, which is given here. So there are many ways basically. So the way you connect those routers is what is called the topology, right? So there are different types of topologies that we're going to see that. So in computer networks, whatever were there are borrowed from there. And here also we have got mesh. Mesh is the basic one. You have got mesh, you have got tree, we have got total, ring, the many like that. Okay, that's one. Another is there is something called a switching technique, which is like, how are you going to handle the data that is sent, right? So for example, you have connected like multiple processors using the network on chip through the routers and all. Now you want to pass on the information from one processor to the other processor. Like, how are you going to handle this? You see, all are zeros and ones only, but whether you want to send all together or whether you want to send and merge them into packets, or whether you want to divide this package into smaller packets, there are different ways basically. Okay, and like whether you want to save at every point while you transfer into the network, or whether you want to save at only few points. So these are all different concepts that come into picture while you choose a network, right? And another thing is addressing. Now the question is, whenever you have a bus basically, so you don't really have to worry too much about it because everything is connected to the bus, shared bus. So we know how the bus-based communication works. So the master, whoever wants to send the data, would send a request, and the bus controller would actually check, okay, whether the bus is free or not, right? If the bus is free, maybe it would be sending an acknowledgement that yes, the bus is free and the receiver is also free. You might send it, you might send the actual data. So first you are going to call and see that whether the bus is free or not. Once the bus is free, then only you are able to send the data. But here the thing is completely different. You don't have bus here, rather you have network here. You have so many routers. So suppose I want to send from core 1 to core 9, let us say. I have got 9 cores in my architecture. So how am I going to do that? So there comes the addressing. So how are you going to define the addressing scheme over here, right? So I might have to come up with like somebody wants to send you something, right? So they would ask you your address, right? Unless you tell your address, they don't know where to come. So as simple as that. So you have so many things connected. So how are you going to address yourself is using a proper addressing mechanism. That's number one. Number two is a routing, right? Because everything is connected. Because you need to have a path which would happen parallelly, right? The communications would happen parallelly. And at the same time, the routing should take care of few things, right? So if my source destination, single source is sending to multiple destinations, what is the routing algorithm I am going to basically, deploy? Or there are multiple sources and multiple destinations. How are you going to do it? If there is a sudden increase in the traffic in the network, so how are you going to handle it? So like this, there is static, dynamic, distributed, so all these things will come into picture. Right? There's something called QoS or quality of service. So it's like there are some critical applications which would want best service, right? So maybe for them you will keep all the links free so that the communication can happen smoothly, right? Then comes congestion control. If the traffic is too much and it got stuck, how are you going to handle it? How do you control the flow from one end to the other end? So all these things would actually come into picture in network and transport layers. Right? How are you going to, in that particular layer, you are going to decide most of the things of the and in the data link, the contention, like, if one is sending too much of a thing and you are not able to receive, or, the network is actually full of packets, but nobody is sending. So how are you going to handle such things? How will you control the flow? And if there are any errors, who is going to check? So all these things will be taken at data link layer. And about the physical layer, we don't really worry about this too much because I don't work at this layer. This would actually tell you what physically it would have, right? So if you are going to manufacture this, what would have been the connections between the routers and how would you have actually, manufactured those, we need to have a physical wires. There are some drivers, receivers, you might have repeaters or some buffers that I have showed you, and how it would be the signaling, right? So there's some voltage level, voltage converters, all those things will come into picture in the physical layer. Okay. So now with this introduction, now I will try to, pose some problems, or you can say the opportunities, we call it, rather than problems, that how are you going to handle, like what would be those things that you can actually work on, right? So people who are in this particular area may be aware of this typical VLSI CAD problems, okay? Computer aided design in VLSI. So these are the basic problems that are associated in VLSI. So one is application mapping. I'm given an application. See, whatever we do, ultimately an application has to run. So how well you are going to map an application onto your network is the biggest question. So that particular thing is called an application mapping. And another thing is, I said, like, there are a lot of processors, there are a lot of routers, but how are you? See, everything has to be on chip, right? The name itself is network chip. So whenever you want to design a chip, you need to know a plan, right? So plan of the flow, silicon flow. Like if you are building a house, first we plan, right? We go to an engineer and plan like, okay, this should be this room, this should be this, this should be the entrance, this, all these things. So the connections from one room to the other room, this will be the door, all these things would come. So that's basically a floor planning. Same thing should happen in this particular case also, where you will say, okay, this core is going to sit here, other core is here, and this core is going to talk to the other core in this way and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is how you're going to basically, do the floor planning, or we also call it as a placement problem. Like how will you place those things? Where do you place what? And of course, routing, we have seen why it is important. You should know basically how are you going to send the packets. You need to have an algorithm. Okay, another thing is buffer sizing. Coming to buffer sizing, like we have seen where the buffers are placed. Now the question is, like one processor is talking to another processor, some data is sent. Let us say that initially 64-bit data is sent. Now I need to decide, like, okay, one 64-bit data is sent from one processor to the other processor. How much I should actually save in the network during the transmission, right? That depends upon the buffer. So the buffer size, whether you want to put 1-bit, 2-bit, 8-bit, 4-bit, what is that? And you are aware, like if I keep on increasing the buffer size, it would have area over there. But if I put 2 less, the latency might increase, right? So basically there are a lot of trade-offs and a lot of work has been done in this. And another is timing, which everybody knows. And we need to do a lot of simulations. So in fact, there are very well-known NOC simulators out there, which would do, you can mimic the NOC over there. In fact, our lab also have developed one simulator. If anybody is interested, they can always contact me. We can always provide you. So another is, of course, test, right? So you have designed everything fine, but how are you, making sure that, it's working perfectly? So that's where the testing comes into picture. So now, whatever the VLSI CAD problems in general are converted into, little different in NOC. Simple is application mapping is map tasks to the codes. So in application, you might be doing some task, right? So any application will do some work, like maybe sending this to that, or, let us say I'm doing a multiplication operation and then sending it to something else, or maybe some addition or some execution of an algorithm, let us say. So there are many applications, right? So how are you going to map those things into codes? We should also know like the processor that you are going to handle is able to perform a multiplication or able to execute that particular algorithm. So many things would come. And floor planning, of course, as we talk in terms of NOC, floor plan of the network issue. And the routing is what? Routing of the messages that are sent to the network. And buffer sizing, as I said, the FIFO queues in the routers have to be changed. And simulation, as I said, the network simulation has to be done. And the traffic, how are you going to model the traffic, right? So like I'm saying that one core is communicating to the other core, it is sending some data, but what way the data is sent? Sometimes the data may follow a Gaussian distribution, sometimes it may be a normal distribution, sometimes it may be completely a self-similar one, or there are different types of distribution, right? So sometimes the application is such that only core one is sending too much of a data because application is like that. Okay, so that is the central processing element where one particular core is actually working so much. So how are you going to model those traffic, right? And then you will actually, while you do so, how are you going to model the power? How are you going to model the delay? So all these things will come into simulation. And others are, many problems are there. Like how are you going to find out which topology? Topology, as I said, the way the routers are connected, right? So like this, there are many things that would come into picture. Well, so with this, we are going to start the NOC design, right? So as I said, like different levels are there. So basically, how I have divided this particular work in the NOC design is, suppose if your background is, let us say, microelectronics, and you would want to work at, let us say, circuit level, you have this option, right? You can work at circuit level, but if you are a system level designer, you can actually do it network or architecture. And if you are at an application level engineer, you can also do it. So there are ways where you can do a lot of work at every level that is possible. So this is just a slide which would show you the opportunities that are associated in this. Okay, so in circuit, you need to find out the interconnection models. How do you design the router? So whenever I'm saying router, it's nothing but a digital module. So how are you going to design those modules? How are you going to select the router architecture, right? What would be the FIFO size? What should be the speed of operation of the router? Because processors are so fast. So how are you going to handle those things? What would be the arbitration mechanism? And as I said, that interface module is there for every core, but every core is different. How this interface module going to be designed? So network also, how are you going to select the topology, routing algorithms, flow control? There are many basically. Okay, so I'll just go to one of those things so that you actually can appreciate what actually happens. Okay, so this is my favorite. NOC topology. So as we understand that the topology would decide any topology, the typical topology definition. The topology will determine the connections between the, the points in the network. So the points are here, P's means processing elements, which are connected to the routers. So now, you can connect, let us say I have got 16 routers. Each router is connected to a core. So basically I have got a 16 core application. And I have taken 16 routers. How are you going to connect all these 16 routers, right? Because it's a network. How are you going to do this? There are many ways of connection, right? So let us say R1 to R16, I say R1 to R2, R1 to R3. So there are n number of ways that you can actually connect. So which one is the better way? That's called topology selection. So in this, there are some classifications which are direct topologies and indirect topologies. So this is a direct topology, and a very famous and basic topology which many people do use. And anybody who wants to come to this field would always start with a mesh topology. If you want to try out any problem, normally people try with mesh. It is a very simpler one. Routing algorithms have already been designed and are proven to be very good working. So that is why, mesh is happen to be a better way of connecting. So you can see mesh would be like this. You will have some rows, some columns. So if you can see here, it is 4 by 4, which is 4 rows and 4 columns. So people say 4 by 4, 4 cross 4, whatever, right? So now, after you connect like this, suppose this particular one is trying to send some packet. So this whatever is there in red color is going to go here. Right? So my application is like that this particular one wants to send here. So see, as I said, NOC will deal with communication. That's why we try to see like which is source, which is destination, who will go, who will not go, how it will go. All these things we are worried about, right? So let's see how it will go. Okay, so now you might get a question. Why do I have to go like this and like this? I could have gone like this, I could have gone like this. There are multiple paths, right? How are you going to decide that, okay, this is the path that I have to select, right? That's where the routing comes into picture. You can't randomly choose a path. It would follow some logic, right? And, it should not be such that, suppose this is here. So that means it is connected to this router. So I want to go over here. Sorry. So I want to basically go over here, right? But sometimes this might happen. I go here, I go here, I go here, come here, go here, come here. So I keep on wasting my time doing only this. I will never go here. Right? So that is called a deadlock. You are trying to go, but you are not going. Right? So there are many, many issues. Suppose this fellow is sending from here to here with this path. And there is another fellow who wants to send from here to here. So there are multiple ways you can do that. So there are multiple source and destinations. Everybody can talk to everybody and there is a path, right? So to make sure that nothing will have a problem, there is something called a routing algorithm, and this particular mesh, as I said, has been proven. And then there are, very good routing algorithms per mesh. There is one routing algorithm called XY routing algorithm, which is very, very famous. Everybody, whoever uses mesh network would actually use this particular routing. Okay. So what does it do is, if this is your source, we try to equal. So this is my destination, right? So I would have had some addressing scheme. So I compare my source with the destination address, and then I try to equal the column first. So I keep going towards this so that the column of the destination and the current one is same. So I have to go here and check whether it is equal. No. I go here. Is it equal? Here? No. Here? Yes. Once I reach this, then I am going to equal the row also. Right? So this is how this XY will work. So there are many, many things. Later, people have come up with YX. Many, many algorithms are there. That's completely routing, right? So this is another topology, which is torus. The difference is, along with the mesh connections, the corner routers are having some extra connections. That is the only difference. Okay. So you might understand why it is done like this. So earlier, here for mesh from here, this corner to this corner, if I had to go, I had to travel so much, right? So we call normally them as hops, how many hops it would require. So this is 1, 2. So number of links in between that we count as hops. So here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had to use 6 hops to reach from this particular router to this particular router. But now with this introduction of these new links, what would happen is that it would reduce. So you see here, it will simply go like this because I need not really travel so much because this router is connected to this router. So I'll go like this and I'm already here. And this is directly connected to this. I go like this. So it's only 2 hops, right? So then you might argue, then why I really have to go to mesh? There are many, many, arguments that might come up, right? So the links of these are very long. There are many, many issues if the links are long in the floor plan. So basically, these are all options that are given by the researchers. So we are trying to see like which one is better. So this is called octagon. So this is how it's going to work. Right? So there are many ways of connection. I'm just showing you. So this is another thing called fat tree. So this is how it's going to. Well, so we have seen, different types of, topologies. Then how are you going to decide basically which one I should choose? Right? I think I should go a little faster because there are a lot of things to be covered. Okay, so normally, after the extensive research, this is what happens. If your P's or the number of processes to be connected are in terms of tens, then you can actually choose mesh, right? If it is 100 or more, hierarchical star is recommended for many reasons. Okay, so basically, as I said, depending upon your application, you are going to choose the topology. If I say that my latency has to be less, I might choose torus rather than mesh, right? So there are many ways of looking at the topology selection. So for certain designs, some topologies are better, but for some other design, some other topologies are better. Okay. So now, till now everything is really good, but what happens is that if we need to have reliability, right? I'm boasting like, okay, bus is kind of, having problems, but I came up with NOC. But now I need to see like what would happen if any one of them would fail. Right? Everything is happening through the routers and links. So links and routers are very important in NOC. Those are heart of NOC, right? There is no router, there is no NOC. If there is no link connection between the routers, there is no NOC possible. So how are you going to handle this reliability? Because I work on this reliability, I thought I will come to, I'll show you some problem definition just to get a feel of how are you going to work. If anybody is interested to work in this area, maybe I thought, it becomes a guiding thing to, understand. And I will also show you our contributions, like if anybody wants to work, how they can actually approach the problem. So reliability, if whoever are aware of faults, if anybody had read or studied anywhere about faults, there are basically 3 types of faults that can occur, right, in any system, not only NOC. So there are called the transient faults, intermittent faults, and permanent faults. I'm not really going into details of this because it takes a lot of time for the discussion, right? So each fault is, because of some reason, right? But there will be a fault. So to apply this particular fault concept to our NOC, our NOC has router, our NOC has link, and our NOC is connected to cores. So obviously, we will consider faults at every level. Core itself is failing, what will you do? We have to make sure that the communication will happen. That is the idea. We need reliability. I have to be reliable. Like suppose you are using a mobile phone. If you are not sure whether it would really work or explode in your hand, you're not going to use it. So it is reliable product. That is why we are always holding it in hand. We know that it won't explode or it will not go bad. So that is the kind of confidence that you need to build while you design these things. So while you do so, we try to see like what could go wrong basically. So before we understand how to give the solution, first we need to understand what could go wrong. Then we can try to solve this problem, right? So there are only 3 components. Every component we try to fail it and then see how are you going to handle it. So there could be core fault, there could be router fault, there could be link fault. Okay. So this is one. If any one of you are interested, I have taken the statistics from 2003 to 2020 in IEEE database. So from the statistics, the number of published articles on fault tolerant NOC are considered. Faults in different components in NOC are like this. So many people have considered router faults. Some consider link, but there are very few people who have considered the core faults. Okay. So I'm not saying that you should not work on router faults or you should not work on the link faults, but there have been numerous works that have actually been done. Of course, if you have any logic, if you have any other architecture in mind, we can always do that. But this, I thought, give you an idea that what is actually happening in this area. Okay, you can go back and check out the database, right? So this is like, we have collected some hundreds of papers in fact, maybe like close to 500 papers or so, and try to, categorize them. And this is how we end up. Right. So, from this, we understand that core faults are not really taken much, importance. So we started with it. Right. So while you do the core fault, so things would come. What are the things that would come whenever a core is faulty? Right. So whenever the core is faulty, who is going to send us the data? The core is the one who is going to send the data. A router is not going to create data, because the processing happens in the core or processing element, whatever the name you give it, right? So the core itself is going bad. How are you going to handle it? So the trivial solution is you need to have spare, basically. Okay? So I would go with spare. Okay? So that's basically one of the solutions for a core fault. Right? So let me just show you. I go to mesh again, just to make sure that you understand this. So what I'm saying is that one of these PE fails, let us say this fellow is failed, right? So the PE is nothing but core or processing element or whatever, right? So this particular core is failed. So we are considering core fault only. If you consider router fault also, link fault also, things would become really complex. So that's why we are taking one at a time. And from the statistics, we do understand that whoever wants to pursue this, can start working on this basically, right? So let us assume that routers are fine, links are fine, codes are going faulty, right? So let us say that this is one of this got fault. So now you see what will happen. The ones which are sending to this and whatever it has to send is gone, right? So what we do is we try to put a spare. Okay. And now, okay, fine, spare core, I will keep it. But where do you keep it? That's the question. Right? It's already connected. I can't change the connections. And this processing element is over here. So let us say if I number them 1, 2, 3. Sorry for handwriting with mouse, I can write this much. Okay, so let us take one example because we are considering 2. So P2 is talking to P1, let us say. It takes only one hop because it's its neighbor. Suppose if 2 is talking to 4, it is taking 2 hops from here to here, here to here. Right? So like this, if 2 wants to go here, 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 according to XY routing, XY algorithm, it would actually go accordingly. Right? So for this place for P2, I have fixed number of hops. Okay. So that hops are fixed. Now this is failed. I want to put a spare core over here. Where do I keep it? Is the biggest question. If I replace this, I can't replace this because it is connected to this. Right? So I have to find some way in the network to keep this. Right? And then not only placing that, we should also make sure that whatever the work it was doing is taken care by the spare one. And then not only that, the number of hops that it required should not be too bad if I place the spare core somewhere else. Right? So for P1, it would require only one hop. Suppose if I keep it somewhere here, right? For P1, I had to travel so much. That is not a good solution. In fact, that's the biggest challenge that one has to address, and that's not an easy question to solve. So that is one thing called mapping. So where you are going to put it. Okay, and routing, we know which one to go there. Right? I have got sources, destinations. How are you going to handle them? So there comes our contribution. So I hope now you understand what do you mean by the mapping. So you have got cores, you have got routers. Now I need to connect those cores to routers. So which core would go to what router is the biggest question, right? So in this particular design, you will have if you have regular NOC is nothing but your topologies are fixed. Either you choose mesh or torus or tree, patry, star, octagon, anything. So in regular topology, your topology is fixed. And as we have seen already that mesh, if you take the number of hops for a given corner to corner is 6, but in case of torus it is different. So while you do the mapping, you also have to take in care about the number of hops that are required for every communication, basically. Okay, so that is about regular NOC. So another thing is, why do I really have to follow somebody's regular NOC? Let me not do it. I will not connect that way. I will connect in my own way. So that may not be regular. You synthesize your own topology according to the application that is coming in the picture. That is called ACE NOC or application specific NOC, which may not be regular in nature. That is why we call it as a irregular NOC. Right? And another thing is called reconfigurable NOC, which is like I have multiple applications. I want the same network to work. Right? So like you have got your FPGA, same FPGA will be there, but you can do reconfiguration on top of that. You can do this algorithm, you can map one algorithm, two algorithm, third algorithm, and so on. So the architecture is not going to change. Similarly, you are going to make NOC reconfigurable, make sure that those are all applications which are coming inside would work on this. So these are basic categorization of the research that actually is going on in this NOC architecture. Okay. So I'll just show you like, which one to select. Okay. So as I just showed you like this, which one do you choose? Now, if my answer is my application needs latency to be less, I would choose torus because it requires only 2 hops. It goes very fast, right? But if I have some other requirement, then I might choose mesh or I might choose star something. So there are some, characteristics of each of the topology, which is called you have an average distance, like from each source to each destination, whatever you got, and the number of links that are required. So in torus, you see, you require a lot of links, right? But if your floor plan is not really allowing to have so many links, you can't really have torus, right? So like this, there are so many things that are there, which we need to consider, right? Another thing is we know routing algorithm. So which routing algorithm we are going to choose? So first and foremost thing is I need to see the latency is less. So which routing algorithm would give me less latency? Which one would give me higher? Like this, there are many. There are source versus distributed in source route. The packet is decided by the source router itself, right? Distributed, the decision is taken by individual routers, right? So there are so many types of routing. So these are not really specific to NOC, but I'm just showing you there are many routing algorithms in the literature which can be directly applied to NOC also. Just that we need to understand how do we apply. So there are many. So I thought I'll just show you how do we do it. Okay. So coming to the mapping of an application, as I said, let us take one quick example. I hope I will be able to cover this. There are so many things to cover. So let me just see whether I can cover this. So what is this particular problem is you have an application and you have a fixed topology. So mapping problem will always work on the fixed topology. So the moment we say fixed topology, you would have already decided on the topology. So for a simpler case, as I said, for starting. Now, how do we define this problem? So this is an application. Whatever I was telling you, that there are different applications that would come and all. So this is an application which has 6 cores, 6 processing elements, and each core or each processing element is talking to another processing element in this manner. Okay. So C1 is talking to C2 with all these edge information is how much bandwidth I would require. So 15 Mbps, all these are Mbps, megabits per second. So you need to have 15. So C2 is talking to, everything is bidirectional. So C1 is talking to C2, C2 is talking to C1, C1 to C4, C4 to C1, C4 to C5, and so on. So this is how you are going to basically give an input. So this is an application. I want to use this topology to run this application on this NOC. Okay. So as I said that whatever the solution you give, either bus-based or router-based NOC, you need to first understand that, how are you going to handle this? Where do you put what? Like C1 I can put here, 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 or here. Anywhere I can put it, right? But which one do you put, why to put, where to put is the question. So this particular problem is called an NP-hard problem, which means to say that you have so many options, you see. So you have 6 here, you have 16 here. So you can imagine how many combinations I could really. So you can't search all the combinations, which is highly impossible. It takes a lot of design time. So we will come up with some solutions. Okay. So the problems like this, where you can't have a deterministic solution in a polynomial time, they are kind of problems called NP-hard problems. Maybe after this session, please go back and cross-check the NP-hard problem, what it is. Okay, it's a computer science concept. So this particular problem happens to be an NP-hard problem, right? So, we need to try to see that how this is going to solve. So this is how I am talking. How are you going to say? There are many here. The mesh is ready. So which one will go where? Why am I going to put this green one over here? I could have put here, 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 here. Okay. So that is where, the design parameters coming into picture. What is your intention? You want the cost, communication overhead to be less, latency to be less, throughput to be more, network power consumption to be less, like this. There are many, many constraints and objectives that will come into picture while you do so, right? So we need to somehow find out the thing. Okay, so this I think will be too much for you. What I will do is I just go to well, if you see this, what happens? We have so many cores over here. We have got so many routers over here. So which one would go where is the mapping problem? Under what constraint? So that those constraints and objectives are this, right? I want to reduce my communication cost. So obviously, how will I reduce my communication cost? By reducing the number of hops. How are you going to reduce the number of hops? By properly placing the cores on a router. Right? How are you going to place them? I am going to take the communication behavior of the application. This is what I'm talking about. Suppose, okay, so I call C1, C2 here. Okay, so C1 is here, C2 is here. So C1 and C2 are neighbors. So for this communication to happen, this 15 Mbps communication to happen, I would require only one hop. Right? So when I put C1, C2 over here, I should also put others, right? So let us say this is 3, this is 4. I'm just putting it randomly, okay, just to show you why this is important, right? So like this, I keep doing it. So then C1 to C2, I require one hop. So 15 into hops, that is 1. Plus, then I have got C1 to C4. C4 is here. So 1, 2, 3. 3 hops I would require for C1 to C4. So 10 multiplied by 3 because I require 3 hops, right? And similarly, we calculate for all these edges communications and find out the communication cost, right? So now you imagine if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this, or I write 2, 1, 3, 4, 1, 5, 6. 1, 3, 4, 2 is 5, 6, 6, 5, 1, 2. So there are many, many combinations, isn't it? So there are many, combinations for which every combination will give you a different number of hops for every communication. And we want the overall thing to be less. That is my objective. So now you can imagine, how am I going to intelligently place these cores onto this router? That is the application mapping. Okay. So we have solved this using many, many things, basically. Lack of time, I'm not able to explain all of this, but if any one of you are interested to learn this, we can always give you these equations. We can help you with the tools. You're welcome, right? So in my first slide, I have also mentioned my email ID. You can always go through it, right? So there is something very interesting thing called integer linear programming to solve this. It's completely mathematics. Whoever are interested in this mathematics, you're welcome. You can always discuss with me. right? So this is one, solution we have given. So there are constraints and all. So there are other solutions also we have given. There is something called, because it's an NP-hard problem. So there are many meta-heuristic techniques that are out there in the literature. So one of them I am showing you. In fact, we have worked on many other heuristics also. This is one of those things. So I'm not really going into these things because all these things would come into, you can just Google it. So what I am doing is this. In this, the solution looks like this. Solution, I call it as a particle. So as I said that, the way you order them, like as I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, like that, right? So the sequence, the permutation would actually decide my solution quality, right? So this particular array would represent my solution. If I write 1, 6, 5, 7, 4, 2, all these, in this case, it is 16 cores. In the previous case, it was only 6, right? So this index would represent the router number. So if I write like this, which means to say that router 0 is connected to core 1, router 1 is connected to core 6, and so on. Suppose if I change this, C6 here and C1 here. So the complete solution will change. The number of hops will change. The communication cost will change, right? So simply by tweaking this, I simply, try to exchange these entries over here. And then I am trying to get better solution to reduce the communication. So this is one way of solving this particular problem for regulators. Okay. So like that, there are many, as I said, that you can decide your own topology. So while you do so, you have to start from the scratch. And if you want to, include reliability also, like here we have shown, like if one link is getting failed, how are you going to handle? So you may have to show an alternate thing, and also we again solve this using PSO. So, due to lack of time, I'm not able to cover this. Okay. So these are many. So, we have come up with very good results also, right? So, yeah, so I just want to show you at the end, what are the, so this is what I was talking about, the reconfiguration. So I'll just show you this particular one. So this different circles are of different solutions, basically. Sorry, different applications, basically. So you can see here, application 1, application 2 are matched, merged here. So red ones are application 1, blue ones are application 2, and some are common, which are in black. So I put like this. I have come up with a architecture, something like this, where there is a mux over here. I hope if I had that, I can, this one, right? So I have a mux. Earlier, whatever I showed you the mesh, there was no, change of connection. So when I say C1 is connected to R1, always C1 is connected to R1. But here you see, these are cores. So either it could go to R1 or it could go to R5, depending upon the selection line of the mux. So this particular architecture we have proposed to make the mesh network to work as a reconfigurable. Okay. Yeah, so if there are any questions, I'll just wind up in 1 minute. Okay, then I'll take the questions. So, so this is one thing. So you can see here from this, whatever the architecture we have proposed, I'll show you in this particular one. You see here, I mapped them, right? So you can see here that we also have considered the failed core here. So this is mapped like this. Okay. So now application is mapped over here, and application 1 is running. So I will take out the application 2 cores, and then I will put a heuristic to move from one to other. So please do understand that each router is connected to 2 cores over here. You can also work on the single core also. So why am I moving here from here? Because for communication from this core to this core, I have to go through one hop where there is one which is free here. So I rather move this here so that the communication between these two would become local. I need not really worry because it is connected to the same router. So similarly, wherever there is a possibility, I keep actually moving them. Okay. So like that we keep doing, and then, there are very good results that we have got. Okay. So, coming to an end, these are the open challenges basically. Okay, so you can see there are trust areas are mapping. So if you type in application mapping in NOC, you will get tons of papers. So there's still people are working on it. So now, people have put up machine learning also. In fact, we too worked on machine learning models for application mapping problem, routing problem, and application specific NOC design, reconfigurable architecture, and fault tolerant NOC design. And there is another new concept coming into picture is self-aware NOC, right? So the self-aware NOC is like it would be aware of itself, like, okay, what am I doing, whether I'm sending correctly, whether I have to change myself. So it is aware of itself, like what are the transactions it is doing, whether I'm sending messages correctly, all those things, right? So I'm coming to the kind of expertise you have got. If you are a software person, there are many, many things you can do. If you're a hardware person also you can do. So whatever we have implemented, all these algorithms are implemented on FPGA, and we have seen the functionality of each of this. So we first worked on the high level programming, right? So in C code or C++ we have done, we showed the results. When the results are promising, then we go on to putting in an NOC simulator. Once we get the latency and throughput, then we also put it in FPGA to see whether it would work on hardware, right? So there are many, many things that you can actually do it. So there is another thing called hardware software co-design approach. If you are putting your algorithm in an FPGA, nowadays FPGAs are having a processor in it basically. So the controlling can happen in the processor, and the routing and the processing can happen in the FPGA fabric. So there are two ways you can actually co-design. Okay, so and there are many things. I'm also, there are verification work, there are testing, there are many, many things that are actually happening in. Okay, so that's it. If there are any questions, maybe I'll take it.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. One question from Dr. B. Gita.
Yes, please.
One minute. Can you please tell how multiprocessor supports 5G?
Oh, 5G. So basically, it's all depends upon the application. It depends upon your 5G, because I'm not a communication engineer. I don't have the details of it, 5G as of now. But if a 5G application is given, so we know the communications, right? So which one would communicate where, right? Accordingly, those application things can be mapped onto multiprocessors. Okay, so we need to know the details of that 5G application basically. Then only we will be able to comment.
So any questions from participant side?
Yeah, somebody raised hand.
Yeah, yes.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Geeta
Yeah.
from SPC.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, can you say some commercially available NOC, ma'am?
Yes.
Network concepts?
So,
Any
yeah.
IPs?
So there is an industry called INOC, and there is another thing called Arteris, which has been doing NOC fabrication basically. And nowadays there are many industries who started doing it. In fact, I came to know from a source that AMD started developing it. Intel started developing work on fault-aware NOCs and all. But they are kind of, now the research came to a stage where we have proved that yes, it would work. Now they started fabrication.
Yes, ma'am. Can you say something about the fabrication point of view? Is it possible in India?
So basically, see, as far as I know, many people who worked with me in this area, they only do this design. Okay, so the complete fabrication is happening somewhere because we don't have the facilities and all. But yes, designs are done by our engineers over here.
Yeah, yes. Why? Because means I also completed in this area only.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah, actually my research is a performance analysis of 3-dimensional network chip architecture.
Touch upon 3D because
Yeah.
it becomes too much.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Without basics, we can't move on 3D.
Yeah.
That's
Because
why.
3D, the vias will come. Why do you require a via?
Yeah, the XY is that, and TSB also we can consider.
Correct.
So it may takes like a course, then only people they can able to understand.
Even this particular one to teach the complete methodology, at least I would require 4 hours.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah, through silicon wire, it may take 2 or 3 hours if you want to explain that means.
Correct.
Yeah, can you list out the tools, ma'am? Any open source tools?
So we, as I said, we have an in-house simulator for NOC.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
We started using Noxin. We tried. There is one called Nirgam.
Yes, ma'am.
Another one which is some are doing on Gem5 also actually.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Dr. Professor John Jose from
Yeah,
IIT.
John
Yeah,
Jose from IIT Gaudi. Right.
yeah. And
So he works.
one person from Pondicherry University, and he also completed, and I forgot the name. So it is a on-chip community, and every year I think China and Canada, they are conducting a group of community people. That
Correct.
ATIR is also in Canada only, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, as we are ready to work on industrial aspect view means they are recruiting a lot many things. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Good, like
So,
NOC seeing its
but
begins now.
up to simulation, it's okay. We are ready to work on that. But fabrication point of view, Taiwan is going on, but we are not
Yes.
getting the exact fabrication and the styles we can't get from that country.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we are doing is we are going till ASIC only.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
What we have done is like we have developed one fault model, and the complete architecture we have developed. So we did it in FPGA, and we also developed in ASIC. So till that point only we could do because of lack of fabrication facilities.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Even we approached the professors, Taiwan professors, they are not able to reveal all the things. So just they are telling that you will see the papers. That's all.
Yeah, that is the main problem actually. The concepts are there, design is ready, but this is one challenge.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thanks for your valuable time spending with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
As a research point of view, research means project point of view, how we can write proposals in that, ma'am? Actually, some small proposals is okay. So if we want to implement in that in fabrication point of view, are any specific funding agencies are available?
Yeah. See, fabrication, because the immediate question will come is where do you do it? So I am not really touching those portions. I only go to ASIC.
Okay.
So mostly I send it to SERB. So SERB, ECR, EMR, mainly SERB, and but DIT, if it is too much of a hardware, they don't really encourage.
Oh.
So if you have some software kind of developments, like if you have some ML models, algorithmic developments or so, then you can actually go for DIT. And recently, like we wrote some on RISC-V with NOC. So
okay.
RISC-V with NOC. There is something called Spark also.
Oh.
And this like Indo-Austria, I have got Indo-Norway. So those also they normally fund.
But yeah, in which point of view they are expecting from our country? Because if we want to make a collaboration with those countries means.
Yeah, so we like I work like this. Like, see, we know what algorithms or where in the VLSI design flow we work, right?
Yeah.
So then we try to see that particular call for proposal is for what area, and then we try to see the professors in that particular country, and we normally look for complementary skill set. Suppose like I do something, but there is another person who will do, they can apply this into their area, something like that. So if it is complementary skill set, they normally
some of the fellowships are available. I think some of the universities like Anna University, those kind of universities, they are submitting proposals means they are making a collaboration with these kind of offers. I think Taiwan.
But other side also should be ready because our DST is a bit slow, theirs is fast. So synchronization is the problem.
Even they are doing those kind of things means can we do it feasible, ma'am? So their expectations somewhat high level.
Like this bilateral calls are of only 2 years duration. Okay.
Oh.
So we have to clearly mention like what would happen this side, what will happen that side. So if you can write down the milestones properly, I think there should not be any problem, because I did that way. It worked actually for both of them.
Okay.
So I wrote with Australia also, which is still under review. So that way, like they're considering. Only thing need to show the complementary skills.
Yeah, and also since a decade onwards, these kind of emerging technologies is going on. So, we can't able to refer too many papers also. All the things are basics available. So most of the things and the people they can't be revealed. So if we want to solve a single problem, means it may take some huge amount of
Correct.
knowledge
Mainly
and
the
go through.
architecture.
Yeah,
Mainly
it-
architecture is kind of takes time.
Yeah, yes. Actually, I completed that three-dimensional view. Perform analysis using Goulomb-Rice algorithm and used unicast and multicast routing protocols, and finally I can
Okay.
produce the results of performance analysis about good level. I used the system C language.
Yeah. So our simulator is also based on systems. Most of the simulators are based on systems because cycle accurate simulator that is.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm getting good response from foreign viewers also. So why?
Okay.
Because means it is somewhat novelty approach. So that's why my papers are getting a recognition somewhat. Good luck.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. 1 minute I
Yeah,
will ask. Participants, can you have any questions? I can unmute all the people. Can you have any questions? Means please. Hello.
Hello,
Yes, madam.
Yes.
madam. I have one doubt, madam.
This is
Yes,
Miss
please.
Neelima, ma'am. She is
Yes.
also working colleague. She is also too much interested in NOC, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Ma'am, which tools are available for simulating NOC, ma'am?
Well, as I said, like we have an in-house simulator with us, so we use it for getting throughput. So we have a traffic generator file already written, automated traffic generator. So you give the application, you simply give the application core graph.
Okay, ma'am.
Traffic generator will generate the traffic, and then you can just give the application mapping also as an input to the simulator. So basically, we have automated everything. So you give the mapping, you give the mesh size, and in fact, not only mesh size, you give the topology, what topology it is, how many routers it is, how many ports are there in the application, and the communication requirements. So our simulator will be able to give throughput, latency, power, everything at once.
Okay, ma'am.
So we started doing using Noxim, but because we have our own source codes and we are happy with it, so we are continuing with it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions from participant side? Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your informative speech, madam.
Yeah.
So, can I share your mail ID to the people, ma'am? If they have
Yeah.
any doubt or
So
they are interested
Yes.
in this
I'm
area.
just typing over here.
Okay, ma'am.
Or, you can just Google my name with Hyderabad campus. You can go to my webpage also.
Yeah, sure.
I hope it's visible, right?
Why? Because means we included in this subject in MTech also.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we try to include in lab, ma'am, like some stuff for MTech VLSI.
Which one? MTech VLSI?
MTech VLSI design.
Okay, what is the subject?
Network on chip design.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the international universities they have that. Few universities only they have that. We also implemented the same. So this semester we try to implement the lab with open source tools. We will try.
Okay, very nice.
If we need any support, means
Sure.
we'll try.
So,
Okay.
like, how are you going to handle what kind of experiments do you do there?
Yeah, yes, just a simple mesh topological and switching characteristics, just basics only, madam.
Okay.
Using Noxim. So like way we try to do, we are working on that now. Actually, I am working on that. So with the help of Abhijit, Professor Dr. John Joe's student. So I'm trying, but I don't know whether it is possible or not. I don't know. I'm trying.
Okay.
Okay.
Like nowadays, this ML models are also used for NOC. There are many.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And also, I'm having doubt. I forgot to ask how we can interrelate with machine learning with our processor.
Oh, so not the processor. What we have started with was like we have taken the routing problem because routing problem happens to be little related to whatever the machine learning problems can solve. So that is why we started with the routing problem with single source, the single destination, just to check whether ML model will work. Then we added multiple source and multiple destination. We used reinforcement learning. Maybe we have published one paper. Maybe you can check.
Okay, madam. Yeah, sure, madam.
It has
So
all the details.
It means multi-hop networks. We can include.
Yes.
Yeah, actually,
we took mesh basically.
As the topological point of view, we are making a bypass channel, otherwise synchronous channel related things. With the multi-hop networks.
Yeah, so basically to apply ML, we did not really go to the architecture level. We are at higher level.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
At higher level.
Functional level we can able to do.
Yes.
Performance.
So basically at that particular system level, we are able to get the good results actually from ML models. Also. Reinforcement learning is something which was really working. We also started with neural networks. So this is how we started with.
It is very complicated to implement the neural networks. Already I tried.
Yeah, we did it. We got some results also for mapping.
Yeah. So the mapping is very difficult. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, little. Yeah. Compared to routing, mapping is kind of too many combinations, no?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult.
Yeah. Compared to unicast, multicast also, we are facing a lot many troubles.
Yeah. So first we started unicast, but that is not practically possible, no?
Yeah.
You need multicast. So then we changed a lot.
So it is very difficult to implement the neural networks, and I'm concentrating on fabrication point of view, but anyhow, we'll try to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your valuable information. Participants, I will post the feedback link in WhatsApp group. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow we will meet the same time. Okay, thank you.